Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to sift through some interesting sources and pull out the key insights for you.
That's right.
Today, we've got a really intriguing mix. We're looking at daily astrology, a tarot reading, and then a short story that seems to echo some of the same themes.
Exactly. We have the astrology of the day for 10 May 2025, and then the TarotScope of the day for 11 May 2025. Both are from Tarot by High C.
And the story.
It's called Story Time, The Man in the Mirror. And what we want to do is dig into how these pieces talk to each other.
See what connections pop up.
Yeah, themes like navigating what you want versus what seems practical, the need to really acknowledge your feelings.
Inner reflection versus maybe external pressures.
Precisely. And reclaiming that inner confidence. We think there are some surprising links and hopefully some useful takeaways here.
Okay, let's jump in. Astrology for May 10th first. The initial point that kind of jumps out is this temptation. The temptation to just settle.
Settle for what's easy or available instead of going after what you truly desire.
But it warns immediately, doesn't it, that ignoring how you really feel is, well, likely to backfire.
It does, and it's quite direct about the link between suppressing those feelings and potential negative consequences.
Yeah.
It's not vague.
Right. It talks about emotional triggers, upsets.
Yeah, like a pressure cooker building up. If you keep pushing those feelings down, they're more likely to erupt, maybe when you least expect it.
It uses that phrase, skeletons under sarcasm, which is, wow.
It's a strong image.
And it suggests these hidden emotions or unresolved issues might actually surface in our closest relationships.
Exactly. They don't just disappear. They can fester and create friction, you know.
So what's the advice then?
Well, the key advice is to find healthy outlets, channel those passions, those frustrations constructively.
As opposed to
Either lashing out at people or just simmering in silent resentment. Neither of those really helps, does it?
No, definitely not. It also brings up something I think many of us feel, that some deep longings might just feel inconvenient.
Like they don't fit the plan or what others expect.
Yeah. But the reading suggests that just acknowledging them, even privately, just to yourself, that can actually help with making decisions down the line.
It's about that internal honesty first.
Have you ever felt that pull between what you really want and what seems, I don't know, more sensible?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very common human dilemma, I think. And this astrology reading really taps into that.
And this connects to the later point it makes about vulnerability.
Yes, it says vulnerability is a strength. It takes courage, to admit those inconvenient truths, first to yourself and maybe eventually to others.
So it's not weakness.
Not at all. It's framed as essential for tackling tensions honestly and ultimately changing those old, outdated patterns that aren't serving you anymore.
Okay, that makes sense. So moving to the next day, May 11th, we get the TarotScope, and the card is the Man Reversed.
Right. Now, the Man card, upright, usually relates to action, assertion, structure, maybe a more external focus.
So reversed.
Reversed often means that energy is blocked or it's turned inward or maybe it's out of balance somehow. The core message here is inner knowing over external assertion.
Inner knowing.
So less about pushing your will onto the world and more about checking in with your internal compass first.
Got it. And it seems to come with a warning. Or maybe two.
Yeah, a dual warning, really. On one side, there's the risk of avoiding action when it is needed, just getting stuck.
Okay.
But on the other side, there's the danger of pushing too hard, too assertively, but without being genuinely aligned inside. Acting from impulse, maybe, rather than clarity.
So the advice is to pause, reassess.
Exactly. Find that place of inner clarity before you act, which, really feels like it flows from the May 10th advice about acknowledging feelings before they boil over.
Yeah, I see that connection.
And it talks specifically about a potential disconnect from our personal authority.
How would that show up?
Well, it could be hesitation in making decisions, feeling unsure, maybe constantly needing approval or validation from outside.
Right. Looking to others instead of trusting yourself.
And the remedy offered is to listen to that quiet voice within, to trust your own wisdom, your own sense of timing.
That idea of reclaiming inner confidence, that really resonates, especially if you've fallen into a pattern of relying on external feedback.
It's about finding that solid ground within yourself again.
And there's a point about overdominance of masculine energy. How should we understand that in this context?
Think of it less in literal gender terms and more about types of energy. So an overdominance here might mean getting stuck in your head.
Like overthinking.
Yeah, constant analyzing, strategizing, trying to control everything, maybe forcing outcomes. It's being too much in doing mode, perhaps, and losing touch with intuition, gut feelings, or just allowing things to unfold.
So trying too hard to control instead of allowing for flow.
Precisely. You might actually be hindering yourself by trying to force things according to a rigid plan rather than tuning into your intuition.
Okay, now let's bring in this story. The Man in the Mirror. It starts with this really evocative mood, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Misty morning, rain, Rowan waking up feeling heavy. You immediately sense something's off.
And then he pulls a card from his grandmother's tarot deck.
And it's the man reversed, the very card we were just discussing.
The synchronicity is hard to miss.
And the story immediately gives it personal weight. It connects the card to his estranged father, someone Rowan saw as all action and logic.
So the reversal points him inward.
That's the implication, a need to look inside, which is exactly where Rowan's journey goes.
We then get this realization from Rowan, don't we?
Yeah.
That he's been living his life based on what others expect,
Making sensible choices, calculated moves.
but feeling completely stranded inside, caught between the shoulds and what he actually desires deep down.
It perfectly illustrates that warning from the astrology reading about settling, about the consequences of ignoring those inner longings. His life looks okay on the surface, maybe.
But inside, there's this huge disconnect.
Exactly.
And then comes that really powerful moment, looking in the mirror.
And not recognizing himself. Wow.
That's such a stark image of losing your identity by trying to fit external molds, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's like a visual metaphor for that disconnect from personal authority the TarotScope mentioned. He's listened so much to the outside world that his own inner voice is lost. He's become a stranger to himself.
So powerful. But then he pulls another card.
Yes, the moon.
And the story describes this as an invitation to stop chasing certainty and listen instead to the subtle, secret language of his own heart.
Which feels like the perfect antidote to his crisis, right? The moon card often represents intuition, the subconscious, dreams, listening to deeper currents.
A move away from the pure logic associated with his father and maybe the upright man card.
Exactly. It's a shift towards a more receptive, feeling-based, inner-guided approach.
And the ending.
Mm.
He leaves. No clear plan.
But the story says he feels like he's living for the first time in years. That really underscores the liberating power of reconnecting with that inner self, that intuition.
Okay, so let's weave these threads together now. We see the astrology warning about suppressing feelings, about settling.
And Rowan is the embodiment of that, isn't he? Living out those potential negative consequences.
Then the TarotScope with the man reversed speaks so directly to his struggle, the external pressures, the need to find his own authority again.
The parallels are really clear. Both the readings and Rowan's story are pushing towards the same conclusion. The crucial importance of looking inward.
The astrology says, acknowledge those inconvenient desires.
And Rowan's journey shows the potential emptiness if you just keep ignoring them completely.
And what about that vulnerability piece from the astrology? Vulnerability is strength. How does that fit with Rowan?
I think it fits perfectly with his final act of leaving. It takes immense vulnerability to walk away from a life you've built, even if it feels hollow, especially without a clear map forward.
To choose the unknown based on an inner feeling.
That requires trusting yourself, being vulnerable to uncertainty, and that's where the strength lies, according to the reading.
So ultimately, all three pieces seem to converge on this idea.
Yeah, that true fulfillment, authentic living, comes from aligning what you do with who you are inside.
Acknowledging feelings honestly.
Trusting your inner wisdom more than external demands.
So as you're listening to this, maybe take a moment. How do these themes land for you?
Yeah, are there feelings maybe you've been trying to ignore? Or desires you've put on a shelf because they seemed, I don't know, impractical?
Where are you looking for validation right now? Is it mostly external? And like Rowan, do you recognize the person looking back at you in the mirror? Really recognize them.
It brings up a really interesting final thought, doesn't it? What might happen if you acknowledged your own reversed man? That part of you that might be holding back its power or maybe pushing too hard without inner alignment?
Or if you start listening more closely to your own hidden moon, those quiet, intuitive nudges you usually ignore.
Could that lead you, like Rowan, towards a greater sense of liberation, a more authentic way of being in the world?
Definitely some powerful food for thought there. There are always more layers, more buried insights waiting. Thanks for exploring these connections with us today.